How many?
Maybe
One more?
here, this is just one. Yeah, one day. Okay, because I need to put in the till.
Yeah.
So.
唔係，我哋準備好咗嗰個選舉法同埋嗰個投票係啦，咁我就介紹以前咧未知真唔得嘅，咁講啊嘛，個個都話我哋你係咪㗎？得個講住。
咪一陣即場示範下嗰個。
係啊係啊係啊係啊，
選舉嗰
係啊方式係啊，陣間示範，喺啲做埋啲直播，所以呢個係關鍵嘅。我以前都係咁，你夾硬叫人出嚟投票，即係。當然做嗰個係啊，咪而家呢個安全咁多啦佢冇得追查啊！
上次我哋6、4嗰陣時，Johnny 都話拋送。
未啊，嗰時未未到啊。
係啊，嗰時你喺度係啊，
未啊，
係冇實際冇
得我嗰陣時，嗰陣時因為我嗰陣時同阿康講話，喂，其實呢啲學生好大個篇唔使理計，唔好搞唔掂。
唔係呢啲，
我準備出街嗰篇啦，唔係講笑。
唔係講笑，可以做唔到㗎，完全可以做唔到。你睇下我試咗幾個方法，
係啊，用咗好多方法都搞唔到。
真係啊！
之前咪話用
公證行乜都好，
公證行太繁複啦。
英國收咗好多錢，收成8磅㗎。係啊，你仲話都唔去，人哋又唔去㗎。Testing。
Okay, right. First of all, welcome everybody. This is the, I believe it's the first Hong Kong Parliament's official event held in UK, and the press conference is certainly the first time. Okay, let me first of all say thank you for coming. I know some of you might have to make a long way. Somebody have to take a train to come here, and there's a train strike today. My name is Stephen Zhang. So I am the MC today. Basically, I'm here to do timekeeping and making sure all the flow according to our plan, and also give Elmer and Simon some time to rest when they might be speaking for the whole day, and in between time, I will be present to do some speaking and make sure we have a very smooth flow. As you know, I don't carry any paper with a speech on, so my expertise is improvisation, meaning I don't prepare a long speech and I just say something as I go along. But first thing first, why are we here? Of course, this is about Hong Kong Parliament, and we like friends of the press and media to help spreading the message for us. I think in this poster here, I got a slogan, a motto of this conference. Basically to encapsulate why we are here. Why do we engage in a journey to build something we call Hong Kong Parliament? I think that phrase speaks for itself. It is in our innate right to vote, we trust. Because we trust we have this nature, this vote we have, is born by nature. Therefore, we believe we all have the right to exercise it. And the platform to realize that is having a parliament. Okay, so today we will ask you to listen to the speech given by Elmer and Simon. They talk about Hong Kong Parliament from a different perspective. I have to say, Hong Kong Parliament is initiated by Elmer Ying, and Simon will be speaking from the representative of the Hong Kongers in Britain. The majority of the Hong Kongers now settled in UK. So they will be giving you two different perspectives to see what the Hong Kong Parliament is about. As I walk to this place, now why I chose this place? Well, one thing, I'm a member here, and this is, I call home. When I come to London, I always come here. And this is the Civil Service Club. If you have time to look at the wall, you can see our late Queen. she was the patron of this organization. So something I am thankful the Civil Service Club allowed us to use this play for this purpose. So let me also introduce our two speakers, because I'm not going to bore you with all the details about what our mission is. I think Elmer will talk about that in his speech. But let me just give a short introduction. First thing first, Elmer, if you have noticed the news lately, you know that he's being put on a bounty of $1 million Hong Kong dollars. I joked to him this morning. I said, Elmer, yesterday I Googled. I want to find the world record on issuing bounty. Are you the record holder this time around? 1 million Hong Kong dollars is quite a lot of money, under £100,000. But sadly, Elmer, you are beaten by a margin. The highest bounty ever issued, as far as I know, I can be wrong, was given by the FBI for the Al Qaeda leader. I cannot spell his name. I cannot pronounce his name correct. Sahari or something like that. So he was the Al Qaeda leader. So yes, you're not the record holder yet, but you are close. So yes, why he is being put on a bounty for 1 million? What has he done? Now, I told some of my friends. Well, that was last year. I told my friends that 3 of my compatriots involved in Hong Kong Parliament project are already on the wanted list. And this friend asked me, Stephen, what have you done? What have your friends done to Ron being on the wanted list? Did they kill anybody? I said, no. As far as I know, they never killed anybody. Quite the opposite. They are being put on a wanted list because they are doing something to save people, to make sure the atrocity that we saw in Hong Kong from 2019 to 2021, a lot of people beaten up, even killed, some put in jail. All this atrocity, the Hong Kong Parliament wants to put an end to it. Reason, the legislature, the government in Hong Kong is no longer serving the need of the Hong Kong people. And that is why so many Hong Kongers has to leave their homes to find a new homes, maybe temporarily for some of them, in UK. And this is why I also say coming here to have these conferences is quite, not by design, but it's not a coincidence either. As I walk today from the Westminster tube station to here, I walk along Whitehall. In fact, I did walk along this for quite a bit of time during my 40 years here in the UK. But today is different. I start to take notice of also all those statues as I walk along. Yeah, the statue of Marshall, some of the Marshall involved in the war before. Why the statues are being put there? Because to come to where we are now in the UK, to have a very mature democracy, we have relative peace and freedom compared to a lot of places, certainly compared to Hong Kong. We beat Hong Kong by a long margin in terms of freedom, safety, democracy. So the reason why we have these war heroes there, because to have these people in the past have to fight in a big battle war to come this far. I don't think Hong Kongers want to go through the same thing. Hence, we have to have maybe not a different approach, but at least we should be going hand in hand apart from the struggle by demonstration, whatever. We need to have a parliamentary style governance to be set up in Hong Kong to ensure the democracy that we believe in and our innate right to vote can be realized. Okay, Simon is another person I'd like to introduce. I know Simon almost a year or two ago now. I'm glad to have known him as a friend. And I know Elmer is being put on a bounty for $1 million And Simon's path, life journey is similar. I don't want to go for it because Simon's so well known among you, but I respect him for that because he has done something for Hong Kong, risking his own life. And I think he sacrificed personally in many ways to going, not single-handedly. You're not alone. I think a lot of people here are walking, and a lot of people in Hong Kong are walking with you. So I have great admiration of Simon and Elmer in their capacity, individual capacity, doing what they can for Hong Kong. Okay, so I think my time is out. So I'm not going to bore you with another long speech. So next, I would like to, first of all, invite Elmer. He is our first speaker. Now, the luncheon style will be, yes, when Elmer is doing the talking, food will be served. So don't be disturbed by that. So just enjoy your meal as well as engaging, listening to Elmer's speech. There will be a Q&A after that. Okay, so Elmer, the time is yours now.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. I've traveled a lot, so I'm not very well coordinated with Stephen in terms of the speech and the timing and so forth. Lots of waiting. I'm sorry. I need quite a bit of time to do an interview, normally 1 hour. In the last 3 years, I have done a total of 2,000 hours on YouTube. And average 2 hours a day. And I'm sure Tony has done more. But, and I'm used to talking without having no time to make a speech or to write a speech. But this time in Washington last Friday, in fact, it was quite serious because it's an interview by PBS. So I've written a simple speech and I found out I'm not capable to read a speech anymore. I can just talk from my thoughts, but not very good in reading a speech. It's a lack of practice. But anyway, do you want me to read a speech or just plain
Do whatever your style. You can put your own style anyway.
I'm used to talking, and as I think. But anyway, I read it, and I can put on what do you call it? AirDrop. I can put an AirDrop if you want it. So if you want it written, I have it on AirDrop now. So if you have your iPhone, you can AirDrop it. And then I don't have I don't have to read it. Should I read it? Or? Okay. And okay. Who is Chris? Chris iPhone.
It's me.
Okay, very good. So anyway, I will keep on punching and then AirDrop to you my written, so-called very brief. Why should the world need a Hong Kong Parliament? That's my title. So it's been 3 years since the Chinese Communist Party imposed a national security law. Hong Kong has become a police state and under martial law. Hong Kong citizens have lost all their freedom, rule of law, and democracy. The CCP is a transnational criminal organization. There is such a law in the States. I don't know about UK. So like the Hezbollah, and also the drug cartel, Colombian drug cartel, they are named as a transnational criminal organization. There's such a crime. So are the Chinese Communist Party. And that's the law I was trying to propose. And I was able to propose as a bill in the US Congress. But I will repeat it again. There was not enough time the resolution there's not enough time to vote on it. So we hope to do it again maybe in 2 years' time. So the Chinese Communist Party, that's really the ruling party and control every organ of the Chinese government. They have reneged on all their international treaties and commitments, including every article in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There are about 30 articles. and they have reneged on everyone. They sign and never follow. The free world have done very little to defend the bridgehead of freedom, which is Hong Kong. We, the citizens of Hong Kong, must act on our own to regain our freedom and autonomy by forming the Hong Kong Parliament. This is in accordance to the Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The rights to elect and to be elected for its legislature and government. A Hong Kong Parliament election by universal suffrage will be held end of this year. The elected MPs will draft its own constitution. A government in exile will be formed. The administrative part will be formed according to the constitution, to be adopted by a general referendum. Since our announcement in July, the CCP has issued a warrant with $1 million Hong Kong dollar bounty for my arrest and have detained 3 of my family members for questioning. We have poked their nerve. The Chinese Communist Party claimed to represent all the citizens of China and Hong Kong. The facts, as we all know, are far from the truth. Nobody in China has seen a voting ballot. Hong Kong candidates have been disqualified before and after each election at will by the Chinese Communist Party. The Hong Kong Parliament's Electoral Organizing Committee, which Stephen and I and Tony, we are the committee members, have drafted the election law and has invented a secure mobile online voting system for all the citizens to vote. We are seeking comments on these 2 proposals. One is the Hong Kong election law, the other is the secure voting system. We shall invite public figures to sit on our election commission in August and start accepting candidates to run as members of parliament. The voting will take place end of this year. Knowing the Chinese Communist Party will threaten the voters with national security law, our secure online voting system will not be traceable nor hackable, meaning the Chinese Communist Party will not be able to identify the voters. The candidate will come mostly from outside Hong Kong and will be risking Hong Kong government prosecution. We need all the help from the global free press, such as this was written at the U.S. National Press Club and all its affiliates around the world. What Hong Kong has suffered may follow by Taiwan, all the One Belt, One Road countries, and the rest of the world. We can now see the Chinese Communist Party infiltrating the White House and even Downing Street. The world must help us to block the Chinese Communist Party's advance by retaking the bridgehead of freedom, that is Hong Kong. So I welcome all kinds of questions and answers. So anyway, it's very poorly written. I have not written a speech for 50 years. So it's trying to, I'm basically a businessman, never been in politics. But because of this national security law, we need to stand out and regain, take down the communists and regain the freedom for Hong Kong. So that's why I'm here. Thank you again for coming, and I'm open to all kinds of questions. Please start your video, and then you can ask me questions at the same time. Thank you. Please, dear.
Okay, so you can finish your speech, yeah, and the Q&A
喺隻手機咧就最緊要。
Well, yeah, there's one question from the floor here.
Yeah, maybe I take some Q&A and then I want to introduce you the secure voting method. I want to demonstrate.
Okay.
Would you like to take
Okay,
Q&A
maybe
first?
Good question.
Yeah.
Having Joe.
Yes.
What kind of powers would the Parliament have?
Our first maybe 30 to 40 elected MPs, their first duty was to draft the constitution of Hong Kong. So far, as you know, in Hong Kong, we used to have the UK law. Okay, there's a pattern for the colony, and then after the Joint Declaration, the Chinese have imposed a basic law, which is like a mini constitution for Hong Kong, and that's a lot of loopholes for them to interfere with that law. It's not made by us for us. So we want to draft our own constitution, which is drafted by Hong Kong people for the Hong Kong people. That's a very, and there will be a referendum for all the Hong Kong people, almost like using the same voting system to must have an over large majority to pass that to recognize, to adopt that constitution, and then all the other action will follow based on the constitution. So that is their duty. And in the meantime, we believe that the communist regime in China will be. We're all very looking at China very closely. We think within 2 to 3 years, maybe even earlier, the Chinese Communist Party, their regime will collapse. And we believe by then, we are not trying to take over China. We are trying to take back Hong Kong. And the Hong Kong Parliament will be the representing organization. And their so-called government, the government come from the Parliament, will be taking back the control and the sovereignty of Hong Kong. This is the objective. So by then, they will go back. Every 4 years we have election, of course. But when the communists collapse, they will go back to Hong Kong. And we don't want Hong Kong to be a part of mainland China yet, because the culture is so different. They are about, of course, we are very close to UK, Hong Kong's culture, political culture. But compare us to mainland China, at least, even if they have totally liberated, it will be at least 2-3 generations before they catch up with the rest of the world on universal value. So we believe we want to have a separate. They can learn from us, but definitely we don't want to be part of them yet. And whatever the future of the relationship between China and Hong Kong will be decided by the Hong Kong people, not by me. And through their members of parliament, they will decide their own future. Thank you.
Can I ask another question?
Please.
What kind of recognition are you hoping for from the international community?
First of all, we have to have our first election. And it has to be substantial voters, number of voters. If you have no voters, no means you have no mandate. So I'm targeting for 1 million voters, and roughly about maybe 50 to 100 candidates to run for about 30 to 40 seats. So this is what and the recognition, I think right after, we will invite different MPs from different countries to be on our election commission. And they will make sure this is a legitimate and fair election. And this is the way they will go back to their parliament and then recommend to recognize us or not to recognize us. This is quite common. The Tibetans have their own parliament outside China, in Dar es Salaam, in India. And then, for instance, not only UK is recognizing them, but also funding them. UK, US, and India is funding the Indian exile, government in exile. But we will be recognized, hopefully by all the three countries, because right now, inside China, all the elections, all the so-called their Congress and their consultative council, all by appointment. There is no free election. So we want to be recognized by the free world. And I believe if we have a successful election, we will be. Thank you.
Last question. Pass the mic.
Okay, I can speak out.
Okay.
Yeah, Amelia from Radio Free Asia。我可能會用廣東話去到問，可能都希望你用廣東話去到答。其實頭先你都提到話即係希望會有100萬嘅港人去到參與投票，亦都希望可能要30至40位嘅 candidate 去參與，令到有足夠嘅認受性。咁其實想問下你有冇信心可以達到呢個目標，令到呢個香港議會有足夠嘅認受性咧？另外就係你認為香港議會對於全球嘅港人，甚至乎在地嘅港人嗰個意義喺邊咧？呢個同埋仲想問下其實因為香港議會啦，其實你被通緝咗2次啦，一次係最近1個月前。咁其實對於你個人同埋你嘅家庭，包括你嘅子女，其中有2位都已經係被香港警察去到盤問嘅啦，但係咩影響咧
？Sorry, I can use Cantonese. She has recording Cantonese. 嗰個香港議會嘅成敗啊！即係我希望你哋唔好用嗰個睇跑馬嗰個心情，或者係睇奧運個心情嚟睇住香港議會啊！香港議會係我哋每一個香港人自己嘅前途啊！成敗係乜嘢？成敗係佢哋自己參唔參與，有人有冇參唔參與去選舉，參唔參與去投票。所以最後嘅成敗，我有個目標，但係個成敗最後嘅責任係唔係我嗰度，係香港人嗰度。所以呢樣嘢我就希望你可以同佢哋講，我哋唔係主，我哋喺度夾，我哋就俾一個平台佢。但係呢場戲最後嘅成敗係香港人嘅參與，呢樣嘢我希望你明白，唔好話hold我 responsible， 我就算 responsible 都冇意義嘅。因為成敗，卒之如果失敗咗，個損失唔係我嘅名譽，係香港人嘅前途嘅損失，香港人嘅自由、民主、法治嘅損失。我希望我呢樣嘢一定要講清楚。如果唔係咧，成日都話你搞你負責。以前我哋就係咁樣，攞個責任交俾英國人啦，英國人你搞，我哋係做生意，你哋係搞掂，我哋係俾稅。呢個就係以前嘅辦法，跟住又講俾共產黨啦，共產黨搞個基本法，有佢知嚟知去，我哋喺後邊喺度剝花生，呢個態度好有問題。而家我哋要自己做一個出嚟，啱我哋自己嘅，係我哋係主人。你當自己係主人咧，定係客人？呢個就好緊要。我哋唔好成日當自己係客人，動不動就話移民，係嘛？移民就唔使理啦。咁到底邊個香港負責咧？如果你又話呢邊喺度唱，又話光復香港呢樣嗰樣。嗰頭咧就攞咗個責任抌咗俾人，呢個係好大問題嚟嘅。我希望你攞呢個 point 解釋喺你哋報紙嗰度解釋俾香港人聽，呢個我覺得好重要。我可唔可以講兩句英文解釋翻譯俾佢哋 ？Yeah, I've been the media kept asking me how successful it's going to be or how many people is going to vote and so on. I'm only responsible to set up the election platform. The success is really has to come from the participant of the Hong Kong people, whether they are going to run for the election or they are going to vote. The turnout will determine whether it's going to be successful. And it's not a race. It's not like an Olympic or it's not like a horse race. It's really their own future. They have to take the decision in their own hands. In the old days, we had the British basically setting up the Hong Kong Executive Council, Legislative Council, and then we Chinese or Hong Kong Chinese keep doing business and leave the government to the UK government. That was in the colonial days. But then came the communists. Communists started forcing the basic law on us. and then they've been manipulating everything behind the scene. So we were relying basically on the communists to provide the government for Hong Kong. But now, both of them have failed to ensure the democracy of Hong Kong for the future, or the freedom of Hong Kong future. We can see right now, Hong Kong is basically finished in terms of universal value. So we need to review our Hong Kong using our own effort, with our own hands, based on what we need, not based on what China needs or what UK needs. We need to have our own government and take the sovereignty. We should be our own masters, not just a visitor who come and go. We need to be the master of our own destiny. Thank you. Thank you.
Chris, quick question. Chris, your item.
美國之音啊 ，Chris。
哦。
都係廣東話，不過你仲英文答翻，陣間廣東話先，而家英文答翻。好。都係類似問題，即係你講話，即係其他地方都有一個流亡議會咁樣，咁因為呢份資料頭先亦都冇講過，如果好難做咗個選舉之後，咁個議會喺邊度運作？你話有希望有幾十個議員咁，即係佢。除非佢全部都係義工啦，咁佢嘅薪金啊，呢類即係實際上嘅問題點樣處理？
而家咧就因為而家個 internet 嗰個真係唔方便啦，所以你見到唔係淨係我講緊香港議會，好多大公司啊，跨國大公司啊，幾重要嘅會啊，都喺網上開會，幾十人開會，甚至幾百人開會，一啲都唔算多，所以呢個唔係問題嚟嘅 location。當然咧，我覺得如果真係需要一個 physical location 咧，倫敦係比較適合，因為倫敦有呢個歷史嘅，同香港過往嘅歷史，所以我覺得呢個倫敦比較適合。咁就你頭先做我第二個問題咩？對唔住，我啲記性啊。
都係實際上點樣運作？
點樣運作？所以運作嗱要錢㗎係嘛？即係你個問題咧，我哋唔可以話我有咗錢先運作，即係好似烏克蘭咁樣樣。你唔可以話有咗武器就要打嘅喎，你邊打人哋就邊供應武器俾你。烏克蘭好窮㗎，又係冇錢嘅，咁佢可唔可以話我而家唔打住啊？佢唔到佢講嘅，所以你見到你成個烏克蘭你就睇到啦，佢一路喺度。你如果係民主嘅，你係自由嘅，自然有人支持你嘅。喺錢嗰方面，喺好多方面自然有支持你。但係如果你唔做咧，就乜都冇。呢個就係我哋即係睇到好多教訓。呢個世界係支持自由嘅，支持一個香港係唔會蝕本嘅，因為香港本身我哋係有能力嘅，我哋可以同世界創造財富，外國會支持我哋。香港我哋好多有錢嘅黃絲，如果你組織起來，佢就會俾你。如果唔係，我成日都話我嚟緊，冇人會支持我哋。支持梗係又係精神，又係錢。所以我覺得咧，我哋做緊就要發生，唔係話攞到錢至做，冇可能嘅，唔會嘅，人哋唔會標誌，見你做緊佢就支持你。但係你嗰件嘢一定要係正義嘅。So I think the most important question,
VOA Chris.
Voice of America.
Voice of America is where will be your parliament, the physical address? How do you hold meetings? How do you fund the parliament? My answer is right now, luckily because of the COVID, the online meetings is very, very popular. Even big corporations, global corporations, they have hundreds of people attending these meetings and they get work done. So I don't see meeting as a problem. And if we have, most probably UK or London would be a nice place to have some kind of head office. But we can do meetings, parliamentary meetings online. Today that's no longer a problem. And we have members, Hong Kong people all over the world. I've been traveling to Australia, Hawaii, West Coast of US, East Coast, Canada, also East Coast, West Coast. I've been to London more than 10 times in the last 3 years. And I keep traveling, and then Taiwan, Vancouver, Toronto, all over. So we need to have a global meeting or conference. The funding, we don't have to wait for money and then to do something. If we are doing the right thing, all the funding from Hong Kong people and also from the international community will automatically come. Look at the Ukraine war. Ukraine is very poor, dirt poor, no money at all. But look at it. The money and also munitions, all right, and weapons keep coming. And as long as they are fighting for freedom and they have a government representing the people of Ukraine, money and then weapons like it will automatically come. This is what I believe. And I'm not going to run as a member of parliament, but once they have been elected, I'll be doing a lot of running around to raise money for the Hong Kong Parliament. So that is my next job, which is also not easy, but I believe people will fund the right cause. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Amy from The Guardian, thank you. I wonder what proportion, if any, of voters do you hope to be from inside Hong Kong? People who are still in Hong Kong, do you hope that that proportion of the voters will be people still in Hong Kong?
The qualification.
The voters in Hong Kong. The voters.
Proportion.
Yeah.
I would say less than 10%.
Is that your aim or your expectation?
I guess.
Yeah.
No base, really no base. And we have no time to do really a study. But let me give you roughly the numbers. Hong Kong, we have about 7 million people left. Outside Hong Kong, since the 50s, I would say about 2 million people have lived in Hong Kong or born in Hong Kong and moved overseas. UK, Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. And even Taiwan. And roughly, I would say 3 million people have moved through Hong Kong, born in Hong Kong. And their children are qualified to vote, at least for one generation. So I believe each person move out of Hong Kong may give birth to one child. Just average, there's no restriction. So if 2 million people have moved through Hong Kong, born in Hong Kong, outside Hong Kong, I say another 2 million of their descendants or their children will be qualified to vote. So we have a total outside maybe 4 million. And I'm targeting for about, let's say, one quarter. Half of them may not believe that we should go this way. So half of half. And they have nothing to scare of. Outside, only those people who want to visit Hong Kong may worry that they will not be allowed to return to Hong Kong or to enter Hong Kong. So I believe the majority of the votes, I'm hoping to have 1 million votes from outside Hong Kong, actual votes. And in Hong Kong, I really don't know. Our system, our voting system, which I'll demonstrate to you after this, is very secure. But I believe communists will do everything to scare people and make sure they don't vote. So I'm only counting on, let's say, about 1% of the Hong Kong people. Hopefully more. By the time people start campaigning and then debating and so on, people will start getting excited and take the risk of voting. So altogether, my rough number is I'm targeting for 1 million, no base, no base, but about 1 million people, and mostly from outside. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I pass on the mic to you in a minute. Simon， 我知道你哋 give speech， 但係我都想即係問一個問題，以及同埋阿袁生可以答。頭先你提到就話你唔會去參選啦，你會參選喺香港議會入面。但係你而家其實係一個即係通緝犯啦，或者喺香港政權嚟講係通緝犯。咁
你講佢啊？
唔係你，
我唔參選啦。
我知。 想問三明嘅就係你會唔會即係有個參選意向？而袁生頭先話唔會參選，點解唔參選？
我講先。
呢個因為呢個 idea 係佢嚟嘅，咁應該真係佢，所以佢講啱啦。
當然對我嚟講，我會積極考慮參選嘅，因為即係我呢個香港議會亦都係符合我嘅理念，即係我認為即係喺海外，就算你留山運動，你要推進民主運動，其實我哋都不斷被質問我哋嘅民主正當性，我哋憑乜嘢去代表香港人？咁呢個問題咧係需要去解決嘅，而呢個係遲早嘅問題要去做。咁另一樣嘢，我相信咧，透過民主投票嘅方式咧，係最能夠聯繫到香港人，因為呢一個係香港自己嘅身份認同嘅最核心嘅部分。咁所以我係認同呢個理念。咁如果我有能力嘅話，我會積極考慮去參選。但係當然而家呢一個場合，我哋主要講係一啲基本嘅選舉嘅過程啊、程序啊，去說服大家點解係可以安全投票。咁如果可以去到提名期，可以去到參選期嘅時候，我會積極考慮去宣佈我會去參選。
點解？
點解我唔選啊嘛？因為點解咧？真係閒言閒語啊！即係你如果我又係發起人，又係我參與好多即係規矩啊，即係嗰個 rules and regulation 嗰方面嘅參與。如果參與咗，人哋話規矩又係你定嘅，咁就係好唔公平。呢個Simon講啊，我嗰陣時問阿Simon，我話你可唔可以做籌委啊？佢話唔得喎，有 conflict of interest 係有㗎。你問下邊樓啊，佢都講嘅，佢都提呢個。咁我有道理嘅，所以我諗下，橫掂唔係冇嘢做，大把嘢做啊！除咗嗰啲議會嗰個討論之外咧，大把嘢要做。咁我話不如我做嗰啲就好啦，而且我做嗰啲咧仲做得叻過班後生仔。嗰啲因為我關係多啊嘛，我又可以旅行，我有呢個咁嘅即係旅行嘅嗰個能力啊嘛，所以我覺得我做應該嗰個貢獻仲大過如果我做議員坐喺度傾偈。Sorry. I think let me speak in English. You say why didn't I? Why would I go for it? Run for it for members of parliament? Because the problem is there's a conflict of interest. If I am involved in making a lot of rules and regulations, even though it's not very complicated. Our threshold is very low. But we don't want to be blamed that I'm the one who make the rules and also participate in the competition. So this is why, and there are plenty of work to do for Hong Kong. To raise money, to get into the international recognition, there's plenty of work to do. So I don't need to be an MP to contribute to Hong Kong. So, and I like the younger generation, and this is their future. So we can do a lot of work to help. So Simon will be a typical, his generation, and they should be more involved than we do. Thank you.
Okay, there's another question coming from. Maybe you got the mic. You go first, and then Leo will come. Yeah.
Hello， 幾位最新同埋香港發仔，其實3個問題，即係你袁生你頭先提到，即係話以前無論係殖民地政府定係97年之後，即係共產黨或者英國政府係將一啲系統或者叫憲化嘅概念強加咗喺香港人身上。咁但係只係得一個100萬嘅選民基礎，真係假設光復到香港翻到去啦，你點樣確保你哋嘅政體或者法律係唔係強加喺其嗰600人身上咧？咁呢個第一。跟住第二，即係你頭先都提到，即係選舉嘅電子方法係安全嘅，即係票喺安全個即係基本網絡安全嘅問題。其實選民係可以點樣確保嗰個選舉係不受操控嘅？即係係咪講順字咧？純粹。咁第三咁頭先
多記唔到咁多，我第二個我已經唔記得第一個。
第一個問題先。
咪一個過嚟啊！我真係你講第二個問題，我已經唔記得咗你講第一個。
第一個問題，即係點樣確保100萬嘅選民基礎唔係將你哋所揀嘅法律或者個系統強加喺其他600萬身上？
咁你覺得而家共產黨係咪強加咧？你而家香港嘅立法會將來嗰個區議會嗰20%， 而家個行政會係咪共產黨強加嘅先？
嗰個係直接強加落去，但係你
咁係直接強加。
嘅。
咁我哋有選舉，我冇佢喺即係同佢比較起上嚟啊！我哋可唔可以講民意裏邊已佔咗一個部分？但係我哋係因為佢個國安法，搞到我哋冇辦法揾人投票啊！冇人敢投票啊！所以要搞清楚嗰個問題喺邊度？唔係因為我哋限佢100萬，而係共產黨佢令到我哋得100萬，甚至可能得10萬都未定。呢個問題唔係我哋嗰度，所以我哋爭取到幾多都係好難得嘅。咁你話呢個因為呢個問題，所以呢個唔合法。但比較起而家嘅香港，我哋合法過佢唔知幾多倍啊！就算得一個人投票都合法過佢，佢嗰度完全冇啊！佢講咗算嘅，所以我明白你個問題。所以個責任喺邊個度咧？我首先就講下，唔好意思，我推卸責任。責任就喺香港人身上。你想唔想愛自由？你想唔想愛民主？你唔愛我奸都奸唔到你嘅。所以香港譬如我話有1%，我估1%。如果有多嘅話，即係證明香港人爭取民主啊！同我唔係我只不過呼籲佢哋啫。最後佢哋要決定，有一定嘅風險。你願唔願意爭取民主？所以呢樣嘢我頭先即係對唔住頭先同嗰位女士講，成日都係香港人就係咁。你整埋嚟俾我食，我話呢個好唔好食，嗰個好唔好食，呢個唔啱。嗰餸都餸你要自己煮，你真係要做主人。你話個 sovereignty 主權係你嘅，咁你要自己負責㗎，唔好成日都話要呢個餸好唔好食，嗰個好唔好食。呢個一定個出發點由你自己要做嘅。呢個制度係你，唔係人哋做埋俾你食。以前有英國人煮埋俾你食，有大陸中共煮埋俾你食。咁個就話呢個好唔好食，嗰個好唔好食。而家咧，我員工提出呢個咁嘅議會，你話呢個好唔好食？唔係，而家我提出嗰個係由香港人自己要去爭取嘅。第二個問題，對住一講到
點樣確保即係個選舉係不受操控？當全部都係
我哋一陣間做個示範俾你聽。莊律師喺邊度？係一陣間我哋要做個示範啊！其實我有我個相機係我個手機喺嗰度影緊我。如果唔係我一陣間我用可能用你個手機做個示範啊！我個手機喺度影緊嘢，咁我做一次示範俾你聽，我就解釋俾你聽。我解釋俾你點解我覺得安全，就唔係叫你放心咁樣，真係每一步，共產黨係跟蹤唔到嘅。好唔好啊？我哋一陣間做一個，我遲早都要做一套片㗎啦，俾人睇嘅。仲有咩？第三個問題，
我哋俾其他其他嘅。
There's another question coming from where's the mic? Put it. Hi.
呢個大啲想請教下而家咁就我哋見到你哋香港議會咧就已經有個選舉法草案出咗嚟啦。應該係諮詢緊大家。你點樣評價今次嗰個諮詢嘅參與度？會唔會話你覺得而家仲係好少，又或者幾多人參與呢個選舉法草案俾意見，你先覺得真係具有認受性？
我哋咧就個籌委會咧有4個 committee， 其中一個 committee 叫做 Rules and Regulation， 係佢哋起草嘅。咁我哋有時都參加過個會，咁有咩抗議，實際都係嗰啲會裏邊咧大家通過嘅，係我哋嗰個 sub-committee 通過，然後俾個 electoral organising committee 佢哋上面再通過一次，但係都唔係 final 嘅。所以而家喺度徵求意見，咁我估咧，我哋下一次開會咧，差唔多2個禮拜度咧就定咗佢出嚟啦。如果冇乜其他意見，唔係好多意見嘅啫，即係我哋要求嗰個係好低嘅，冇乜特別嘅要求嘅，就只係冇乜嘅其他嘅嘢要都可能唔會有咩大嘅改動嘅，我估啊，因為我收到好少反對嘅意見。
而家有冇話透過你哋收集到嘅意見係你自己多個人？
我要翻去問一問啊，我就冇，因為我冇跟呢樣嘢。就我估有幾百人，應該有過百，但係咧就唔係好強烈嘅，多數都係唔明白問嘢嘅 clarification。
你遇過嘅反對意見係有啲乜嘢？你頭先話係反對意見少嘅，但係都係有啦。
Stephen 啊，係，你有冇聽到咩反對意見啊？ 我真係諗唔起，聽唔到。對我哋嗰個選舉法有咩反對意見？
Okay, well, good
你都
question.
係佢都係籌委會嘅。
Yeah, in fact, I have to say a little bit more. I'm responsible for the electronic voting system, so I'm chairman of the committee to be responsible for that. Now, so far since Alma launched the two documents, our voting system and also the election rules. As far as we have received, there's not too much negative criticism. Yes, they are clearly obviously certain parts of the voting method they are not familiar with. So it's only I think I wouldn't say it's a criticism. Some of the comments came back were circulating around how do you. For instance, I think Emma also said that we must show something that people can understand. Part of the vote. Now, there are many ways we have. I have to say, since taking on the chairmanship of this committee to design this voting system, we have several basic principles, criteria we have to fulfill. One, it has to be safe. It has to be secure. But it has to satisfy accountability, meaning, for instance, in any voting process, in the traditional one, people go to a voting booth, either show the ID or a piece of paper sent by the council or the election commission. You take that piece of paper to a voting booth. We are not going to rely on that alone. We might still have that, but the majority of the method is based on our iPhone or smartphone. Now, Alva said several times, and I think people probably it would be good for me to show how that is done. Now, basically, in any voting process, we have to be sure the person to vote has the right to vote. Now, at the moment, we are relying on passports. In my case, I haven't got Hong Kong SAR passport. I have my Hong Kong ID card. I have my British passport. But in there, it will record my place of birth. For a majority of Hong Kong people, they will hold the Hong Kong SAR passport. As long as their passport are the newest edition, software can read into the chip. Now, I cannot take it apart to see. I have no one, so I know. In any people's passport, in that page, embedded inside there is an RFID chip. What does it look like? Like some copper wire ring. Okay, now, as I say, a picture paints 1,000 words, and I have to show you perhaps by doing this, we can first of all verify the person has the right to vote by having their place of birth in their passport saying they are from Hong Kong. Now, for some of people holding a BNO passport, that alone in itself implies the person is a Hong Kong citizen because those BNO passports are issued to Hong Kong citizens. Now, I know that it's a jungle of jargon. BNO passport, Hong Kong SAR passport, but maybe I'll do a demonstration once, then people will know, okay, how do you verify a voter has the right to vote? Now, if you look on the screen here, forgive me, my passport photo is even worse than those photos people use to issue bounties. Sorry, now, okay, so obviously, in a document like this, over here are 2 lines of numbers. We call this MRZ. Google it. I mean, it's a mouthful. What MRZ stands for. So luckily, this passport say where my place of birth is. Now, so what we are saying is in our ID verification, we rely on people holding BNO passport, Hong Kong SAR passport, or even other countries' passport, British, American, Canadian, and so on. Okay, so we will use this ML set by using a software. Now I cannot disclose the detail of software, but I think I can show you how that is done. So by having, okay, so I hope it will do the job. So by line up, it will say it can read. No, perhaps I have to. Okay. As I say, you don't have to see everything, but just knowing how that is done. So once the software detects all documents scan, and it shows me that this is a passport, and then I go to the next step. Okay, so it's now asking me to check read the RFID. So I just put it there. Okay, so and then press next. Sorry, always a teacher doing this kind of thing, real life. Come on, okay, read the chips here. Hang on, read the chips. So what I'm trying to show you is by putting my my phone against the page that has the RFID, it will read the data inside the RFID chip. Now what we're looking for is the name, day of birth, and place of birth. Now, I'm not an expert in this kind of thing. It's only when I get involved I know that these kind of number have a function, check digit function, to make sure it's a genuine passport. For instance, I haven't got any sticky tips here or any tidbits, but tidbits things we get hold of now. If I alter some of the numbers, the software will know it's not a genuine passport. Okay, now what I'm trying to show you or trying to explain to you is this kind of security level is on a par with holding your passport to go through checkpoints in immigration. Immigration everywhere around the world, they will base on your passport, and these information determine whether you can go in or not. So that kind of security level is pretty secure. That means no one, unless I think our biggest enemy probably or someone wants to sabotage our election, maybe it's the Hong Kong government. If they pin out lots of Hong Kong SL passport fortune, then sorry, we can stop that. But I think that won't happen. Well, at least for now. So as I say, so that answers the question of who has the right to vote. How do you verify it? Software and passport. Next question: how the voter be confident or assured? I go to participate in the voting. How do you make sure it doesn't come back to me by tracing backward? Okay, Mr. Sang, Stephen, you have participated in the voting. Here is the record from the whatever database we saw. Your full name, full detail of your passport, that you participate in that voting. It won't happen because once we read the data from the passport, doing all the verification, we'll make use of some of the information. We don't need all. We need some of the information there as a record to check if I'm being naughty. I did it once, and then another one again. Then the software will detect I have done it already. So there's no multiple voting. So everyone only got one chance to vote once in any one election. Okay, so that is accountability. If somebody can vote 100 times, 1,000 times, then I think our system will bust. So that answers the second question: accountability. If we can stop people doing multiple voting, then however many votes we vote, the actual number of people participating in it. I have to tell you, I have to be honest. How about some people have two passports? I got a British passport, I vote once, and I have an American citizenship, and I use that passport to do. Yes, that is something possible. But we believe those people in that category will be very small. Now, I could not reveal too much of the detail how we make sure all these, how much record do we hold. All I can tell you that is the record that we, when you say we kept, it's not quite right. We hash some of the ID information into a code, and that code will allow us to verify any repeated voting for one. If you use that number to go back, you will find that there is not sufficient information to identify an individual. Meaning, the information alone doesn't. They might narrow down to 1,000 people, 100 people with the same sort of sequence. That is purely chance. But as I said, we don't know that number. But my gut feeling is the number should be fairly small. And if, let's say two people, let's say, sorry to pick you as a, if Joe and I have the same number combination, is it Joe cast the vote or I? No one can. Apart from just people. If people cannot trace, that obviously 2 will be too easy for the Hong Kong security people to narrow it down. But how about 5, 10? If it's that small number, then they won't come back to you, because to bring somebody to court, they cannot narrow down who are we talking about. The data shows someone cast a vote, but we are not sure who they are. That, I think, is the one that we try to ensure security. Okay, I hope that answers everything. But obviously, there's still a lot of questions now. I'm mindful of the time. Simon has been waiting for his turn for his speech. In the meantime, I think, am I right in assuming everybody have the starter already? So shall I ask the waiters to clear the dishes so that they can serve you the main course? I have to say I'm not expert in catering, so looking at the menu, who ordered what? This is my field for me. So how about our waiter and waitress come to you and say, what's your order? Then they can bring to you. How about that? Okay. So I think for the next 5 minutes, allow our waiter waitress to change the table setting to your main course, and then when it's all set, Simon will deliver his speech. Okay, thank you very much.
但係佢相信咧，就係話嗰個機會率好低，因為即係呢批人好少啦，或者at the moment香港政府唔會採取咁大成本去干擾呢個選舉公平。但係
Okay, now as I said, student life is really difficult. Perhaps you can now see this. Okay. Oh. There's a reason for me not to show our software, because for fear of sabotaging. Okay, so that is the data that, not a photo from my phone. This is the information that the software is reading the chips, and whatever information, personal information stored in that chip came out. So you can probably see the photograph. We are not relying on the printed photograph on the passport, but a digital record in the phone to show who the person is, and also all the name, gender, birthday, place of birth. I want to show you the place of birth in a minute. Okay, this is something next. Okay, all right then. Sorry. Start it. Okay. So I think you got the idea by having seen it once. You know, yes, at least you are convinced software can do this kind of thing by reading into your passport the RFID chips. Those data is very difficult to forge. If someone can do that, they go past any immigration control. So I can't do it. So I think that will perhaps answer some of the query you have. How this is done? Yes, I understand go to an airport checkpoint, they do this. Can we really do it in our phone? Yes. Today's technology allows your phone to do this. Elma also emphasizing the process of doing this is offline. So the offline bit, what we call a flight mode, airplane mode, an extra security to make sure to make the voter rest assured. Only you know what you do in a dark place, maybe a dark hole underground, 100 feet down with the ground. No one is going to know what have you done, what the information are, and who do you vote. So I think that is what I tried to say. Okay.
How do you make sure the data does not leak? Is the main question.
Now, yes. Now that bit, obviously, I am not a security expert in that sense, but we will have both the use of this server and also the chain of communication for VPN. So I think we've done the necessary checks to make sure data leak are not easily done. But let me also emphasize, I keep saying that we don't keep full information of the voters, only part. If I tell you my number is WFT 289 something, no one's going to know who it is. So that is what we're talking about. Not whole full name, all my information you can use. So that is built in the design. Not to have full information, we don't need full information, but we need to keep some to make sure I cannot work twice, 3 times, 4 times. And that has to be done, otherwise we will not have the credibility there. Okay. Okay. I think the kitchen probably need more time. Okay. How about we invite Simon to deliver the speech, and I think give some time for the kitchen to prepare the menus. Okay. Simon, it's all yours.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for joining this press conference, and I'm really happy that to be invited as one of the guest speakers for this press conference. I'm really glad to see that the Hong Kong Parliament have made a great progress, and you said that you'd be ready to have elections in this coming months, hopefully by the end of this year, or maybe the next year. I think first of all, I think that it's really important that we try to address the legitimate questions about the legitimacy of democracy for now the activisms overseas. And that is the questions we cannot avoid, even that the activists now we're being proposed promoting democracy here. And also secondly, I think that it's more powerful with more long-standing momentum to keep the flame of the democracy movement, because now that's the whole situation is moving on from the whole democratic institutions rather than individuals, or that we try to include the individuals activists keeping in touch with the mass public. We find a way to let the mass public to have a way to engage and let them have a voice. And I do believe this is the basic concept for self-identity as a Hong Kong, because mainly the collective memory of the struggle of democracy has always been a very key part to consolidate our self-identity as Hong Kong. So I believe that is one of the reasons why the National Security Police back in Hong Kong and even Beijing would target Mr. Alma Yun and even more for this kind of concept. I do believe that the CCP would not, would be really confident that, if any individual to single out and try to marginalize those activists. And that is a very vivid example for many, many exiled communities, democracy movements for decades. So we need to make change. And I think it also giving a very precious opportunity for Hong Kongers to have experience of governance, to have experience of having a decent political debate and dialogue. And more importantly, I think it would mirror the shortcomings of the Hong Kong authorities in Beijing, that they are without the mandate of people. And that's why we show it like whatever the statements or announcements in response to the policy or actions that have been made by the Beijing and Hong Kong authorities. We show it the genuine voice of Hong Kong people. I know some of the journalists might ask, if there's only small amounts of people vote, how could you legitimize that others that they didn't? But the thing is, even in the UK, if you can see the local elections, that's maybe less than 15% of voting rates in here. But we would not say the councillors there will be without legitimacy. And I think that's more importantly, the difference is, in Beijing, they stripped the powers and rights of votes away from the people. But instead, we grant people the university suffrage, and then they have their own decision to vote or not to vote. And surely, of course, as Elma said, the Beijing will try best to deter the people from voting. And I understand that situation. But we need to push the situation at points to Beijing that they need to take more action to try to thwart the efforts of genuine democracy advocacy and make more people they know about what even more ruthless action they would take. One of the possibilities in Hong Kong, they will try to ban the whole website. They will even try to block the freedom of access to information in Hong Kong. And that would be the course for them to take as the international financial center. And that is the course that we try to impose on Hong Kong, because they take more measures to try to thwart the efforts and influence and even potential power of the Hong Kong Parliament Initiative. The main influence for those, I think, that would be scared the most would be they never ever know how many people living in China and living in Hong Kong will secretly vote. And that's always that they will be suspicious to the people, and that is the main nature of authoritarianism. They don't trust people. They try to solve the division amongst the community members. And that's the thing we have no choice but have to go ahead. Because I do believe when, in the past few decades, we try to negotiate with Beijing for a better plan of democratization. But rounds after rounds, we feel disappointed. Rounds after rounds, I think we cannot circumvent one basic fact. We ask for democracy, which is up to the authoritarians' mercy. And that does not make any sense. When we talk about we advocating democracy, that we need to set up democracy by the people ourselves. And that is a basic thought, the basic ethos of the Hong Kong Parliament behind. I felt happy because not only just because I try to bring the idea to trigger some feedbacks or some imagination of Hong Kong people to think about any types of parliaments in exile. So previously I mentioned about Hong Kong shadow parliament. But Elma reminded me one very important thing. When I think about Hong Kong shadow parliament, I take a reference from the UK system that has a shadow cabinet and try to mirror the government, because they think, okay, if there's any wrongdoing of the government that they have done, we would say something, we're monitoring them. And even they try to give alternative view, alternative vision for the people, how or what if that we start initiatives and we will try to do better. And that will be the same logic for Hong Kong shadow parliament. That now the legislative council, many levels of parliaments in Hong Kong, that has the facades, that is fake, that is sham. So how about we mirror it to show the genuine people's will in stats to the world? But I think Elma reminded me of a very important thing. We need not to say we're shadowing, because that's where with a genuine people's mandate, and it shows the councils or parliaments back in China and Hong Kong would be illegal. How could we just secondary ourselves that, to feel we are kind of a supplement for the system back in Hong Kong? And I believe that is a righteous cause that we even would say is Hong Kong Parliament rather than Hong Kong Shadow Parliament. So I believe in the future that we step by step gradually to materialize our future plans of Hong Kong democracy movement, even overseas or in exile. That is really important way that we try to unite the Hong Kongers, not only just overseas, living in different countries, but even those people living in a great war within Hong Kong, such as a big prison, because we secretly grant down a lower schools to have their own state, which is maybe defined from the government. And I think that is the steps that previously, when firstly the Hong Kong people, they start to know about the asylum policy, we set up lots of organizations, try to promote asylum policy amongst our diaspora, and at least that we fight for a chance for people to leave Hong Kong. And that is the first duty as an activist in exile, that we need to grant the people a chance. Moving on, we need to set up the Hong Kong diaspora groups, such as in the UK, Hong Kong and Britain, and many other regional groups have been so vibrant here. And gradually we have influences. But hopefully that's not only just focusing on the livelihood, moreover, they have a civic education, they can be empowered themselves, they know their voters, they're decent citizens, and they engage within the local politics here to exert influence, and more importantly, to share equal with the same values with the UK to safeguard and enrich democracy here. But more importantly, how could we still maintain the momentum focusing back in Hong Kong? We cannot move on, as we say, we're British here, unless we move on, and gradually we're facing a great risk and challenges where the will would be united front by the CCP. When do you moving on? Definitely. Lots of lessons were taken that we would gradually more tolerable to what outrageous, egregious actions would be made in China because you keep distant from it. So the most effective way, I believe, is that by voting. To let the people have a say, have a vote by actions. We focus more on the process rather than the result. Because definitely the people will question what's the real power of the Hong Kong Parliament will be. Well, I would say even symbolic meaning would be important. Because every time when you see the revolution in human history, every time that the thinkers, philosophers, try to give some values and thoughts to mobilize people in one better society and keep going forward. So I think, how could we make sure our moral grounds, symbolized by the Hong Kong Parliament, make sure we have legitimacy, would be very important. That symbolic meaning would be actually with power. So we need to see it in the longer history. So what I believe that Beijing would be afraid of the most is that they spend lots of resources and money on ideology. They spend lots of efforts to cooperate with scholars to try to justify why Chinese Communist Party could be democracy and could be with friends with the Western, they say, Western thoughts in here. So if you can see in that way, philosophical thoughts, ideology, or legitimate grounds would be still in some way with the real power. So that's why Hong Kong Parliament has to try to do it. And I believe that it's more important that it would be a more civilized way that we could coordinate different routes within our activism. Honestly speaking, our activists would be with different thoughts. We share maybe the same goal, but we may share with different views on how could we achieve democracy. We need this to be more transparent, and we need the mechanism that's more fair to let the people who could compete together, and to have a decent representation, showcase to the people, and let the people make a choice. otherwise Troyanism, otherwise it's based on interpersonal relations with the dad and different factions with the dad. Without democracy, without democratic mechanism, that kind of infighting will be very serious. We need to try to address these kind of issues. So Hong Kong Parliament is one of the ways that we propose because we need to be more inclusive to let the new voices, younger generations, not only to have a say, but also they believe they could appeal to the people and to get elected and try to reason what their thoughts for the future of democracy, and that to be heard by the people. And this process that we practice democracy, maybe in one day, when the history change, maybe international relations or international power structures have been changed, and we could become a constructive power, constructive forces, with an experience of governance and political debates, could fill in the vacuum of the power, and when Hong Kong could be liberated. We need to prepare this. Otherwise, people would say, oh, that's going to be a chaos because there's no alternative team, no alternative way to replace authoritarianism. And that's what people have no choice. We need to mitigate the risk or mitigate the fear of the people to without any kind of vision in the future, alternative to the CCP authoritarian regimes in the world. So that is the way I believe, that's why I support Hong Kong Parliament, and I'm glad that Elmas and the team organising this committee proposing this very consistently. And I hope that's the future, that we could make change. And I do believe when we offer this kind of chance to the people, they still have a chance to try this. Finally, I do believe in this activism, we need to be creative. And as activists, we need to embrace any opportunity that we could make change. I know that has a risk and fear that some people dare not to try. But as an activist, and if you believe in kind of change, that's what we need to try always to challenge the status quo and to give it a try, and there's always the opportunity that we could make a change. So that's what I would like to give sincere hope for future success of the Hong Kong Parliament. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Simon, for the speech. Any question?
睇呢度，咁就想問下啦，香港議會其實頭先都問過你，香港議會其中一個好強調嘅就係叫光復香港啦。咁但係我哋見到光復香港喺海外嘅港人當中有唔同嘅定義，有啲人話係咪獨立咧，有啲人係話歸英咧咁樣。喺你嘅心目中，光復香港係啲乜嘢嘢
？OK， 咁我用廣東話之後用翻英文翻佢。嗱喺我嘅心目中咧，光復香港好簡單啫，就係還予香港一個正常嘅制度，一個符合常識嘅制度，一個符合人民基本價值嘅制度，就係、每個人喺佢個政治決策過程當中咧，都有佢嘅選票，官員係需要向人民負責，呢個係最基本嘅邏輯。咁而家香港當然唔係呢個情況啦，咁佢唔係向香港民眾去負責啦，佢係向上級喺北京去負責啦。咁所以我嘅要求其實都好簡單。咁就算你話香港議會喺未來會唔會即刻新任嘅民選議員，佢會討論呢個藍圖咧，或者可能會嘅。咁但係對於我個人嚟講咧，我就唔會咁側重呢個問題，因為對於我嚟講，如果件事未完全喺可見嘅未來發生嘅話咧，我會比較着重於讓譬如呢一個議會可能去就香港政府一啲作為咧，作出一個符合民主正當性嘅回應。咁咧，亦都可以咧，即係去參與聯合國嘅一啲嘅人權系統，因為聯合國人權系統，如果大家以台灣為例，因為佢不被國際社會普遍認可係一個國家，因為中共嘅壓力，咁所以佢冇辦法去參與聯合國系統。但係你亦都見到聯合國嘅人權系統咧，係有接受一啲所謂公民團體去參與嘅。咁如果我哋睇翻舊年呢一個喺日內瓦舉行召開嘅人權委員會，呢個亦都係一個里程碑嘅發展嚟嘅，因為香港嘅基本法、香港嘅國安法入邊係好明文規定，佢哋需要符合 聯合國嘅政治及公民權利公約嘅。咁呢一件事咧，如果呢個法定嘅機構就係聯合國嘅人權委員會去 review 啦，咁結果佢係認為國安法咧係唔符合呢一個嘅公約。咁其實咧，某個程度咧，亦都係讓國安法同基本法入邊一啲已經標榜咗嘅核心條文咧係有問題嘅。咁所以我諗，既然一個公民團體佢可以發揮到咁大嘅作用嘅時候，我希望嘅香港議會可以凝聚到更大嘅共識，有更大嘅力量同話語權，可以喺聯合國嘅系統或者係一啲國際認可嘅國際法嘅系統入邊去發聲去遞交報告。咁呢一樣嘢，我相信會係更有意義去開展工作。Okay, so I translate in English. So I've been questions that what do you think about the future of liberated Hong Kong? And I do believe now in here, and when the new elected members within the Hong Kong Parliament, to me, basically, I do hope that there has a basic common sense back to Hong Kong with a decent democratic system back in Hong Kong. That is really humble request. I'm not really, foreseeing that much because now it's not, approaching that reality at this moment. But I'm focusing more what we can do at this moment. At this moment, I think it would be a very good way to consolidate the voice of the Hong Kong people with the people's mandate to join the United Nations human rights systems and mechanisms. As you can see, Taiwan maybe not recognized it by many countries as a country, so they cannot engage with the United Nations. But one of the ways that we can engage is that we could join as a civic groups. As a civic groups with a very, very legitimate power mandate, even more than the Hong Kong authorities, we made a successful case last year because we went to Geneva and talked to the committee members of the Human Rights Committee of the United Nations. And not only basic law, but national security law that stated very clearly that the law should be consistent with the ICCPR International Convention for the Political and Citizens' Rights. And that is really important when the committee decided that it's not consistent. And it would question the legitimacy and legality of the NSL. And that would be a basic thing that we could do. So Hong Kong parliaments in the future, that they could engage international law systems to accord with the legitimacy rights, and that's what we could try to do.
Let me add a few words. 即係頭先阿 Simon 咧講咗佢對香港嘅將來嘅睇法，佢嘅講法。咁咧，我或者有啲唔同，阿 Tony 或者有啲唔同，你又或者有啲唔同。卒之唯一一個解決辦法咧，就係、透過議會，大家提出大家嘅方案，大家討論，嗱啲討論一定要㗎，討論、辯論，甚至投票，嗰、個咧就係做出嚟，嗰、個就係將來。今日我講乜嘢，佢講乜嘢，我哋有權講，乜都有權講。但係最後形成點咧？因為你睇到英國啦，睇到我哋日日都睇到 parliament 嗰度裏邊有好多改變，係我哋冇人控制得到嘅。但係呢個就係成個民主嘅 process 就係要咁樣行，就係要一定要咁行。咁到底佢哋決定乜嘢都有可能嘅喎。好似阿 Tony 咁，佢就同阿 Simon 佢未必一樣嘅，係嘛？佢又激啲嘅，嗱，即係講老實話冇問題。因為我又好激，好鬼激嘅。Simon 嗰啲咧就比較即係英國嗰套比較係好文明嘅嚇。但係咧，卒之我哋如果你係選出嚟，你係代表你嘅人民，係嘛？佢有後邊嘅人民喺度。呢啲就係所有呢啲咁嘅爭議，就喺議會裏邊爭。卒之出到嚟咩個 outcome 咧，冇人知，真係冇人知。所以我哋唔係要塑造咩？我而家喺我嘅身份因為我唔參加競選嘅，我唔係去塑造香港將來，我塑造呢個平台，等你哋去拗掂佢、傾掂佢，或者投票掂佢，就所搞嗰個變成個將來。個將來係乜嘢咧？真係香港唔同人嘅諗法，一個好 complex 嘅 hybrid 我只可以咁講。但係我哋就譬如Simon 佢可能有佢嘅政黨，Tony 有佢嘅政黨， 咁佢哋爭取多啲票係嘛？爭取多啲人選做，同英國一模一樣啫嘛，日日喺度呢個區又嗰個區，我哋就唔使區嘅，我哋講票嘅。咁咧變咗咧，呢個就係民主嘅，實際就係你話咩民主？就係呢個就係講到最後就係民主。咁最後咧，你人民多係嘛？票數多就係你得到機會，即係你嘅方法機會多。其實就係講到最後真係好簡單個民主制度，所以我就話好難答啊呢個。Sorry, just a few words in English. They asked what's going to be like, what kind of system Hong Kong will adopt. It's really not up to us. It's up to the people to elect their own MP, and then the MP will present their own case, whatever form of government, and also they will argue, they will debate, and maybe they will also vote. And whatever becomes. That's the process of democracy. So it's not up to us to say what kind of government. Of course, we have preference, I preference it, slightly different. So it has to go through the parliamentary process to come to something final. Thank you.
Maybe I add a little bit here. I keep hearing about people. Parliament is about people. The whole basis of the legal basis of a parliament is actually the vote of people. I think we revert whatever in other society, in other regime where people is the least they consider. And in parliament, we're not doing that.
兩個簡單嘅問題啦。咁Simon今日即係喺呢個 press conference 係即係一個個人身份啦，定係你嗰個組織比較即係港協議會嘅身份去支持呢一個香港議會啦？第二個就係咁，即係頭先袁先生都話，即係呢個可能會喺倫敦做佢嘅基地啦，即係好多運作都會喺呢度。咁你認為即係以一個香港人喺英國組織身份，點樣可以喺英國去宣傳呢一樣嘢，即係令到大家可以認同好啦，我哋可以做呢一個議會。
好，咁多謝呢個問題。咁第一同樣我係以個人身份同埋港議會創辦人身份去支持香港議會。咁其實原因好簡單嘅，就係我哋嘅組織當然同埋本身我哋我自己咁係一個支持民主理念嘅。咁所以我問香港議會政治嘅支持嘅時候咧，我就唔會睇背後嘅人士究竟支持邊個。我係對於民主理念，只要你係講你係要普選，你要爭普選，你要還人一個選票，咁我揾唔到任何理由去拒絕。咁當然呢一件事順理成章，我係會支持㗎。咁所以呢一方面係第一啦。咁第二既然我哋其實長期喺英國嘅社區去深耕細作，我哋能夠做嘅，我哋唔希望我哋只係做一啲基本上一啲社區融入嘅工作。咁社區融入嘅工作都好重要，但係同時之間咧，呢一種香港共會咧，其實佢想推動嘅一種好似睇落去好高度政治化嘅一種民主運動。咁我哋其實個核心嘅概念咧係一個草根民主嘅概念，即係話我哋唔希望講到去民主抗爭嘅時候，只係一啲少數嘅人嘅做法啊。咁大部分人只需要融入生活就可以。咁我哋講民主嘅精神，其實最重要係人民自己本身嘅時候咧。咁我覺得透過社區組織去宣傳，或者透過社區組織去鼓勵別人去參與，或者尊重別人嘅意願，咁我覺得呢一個係一個起步。如果冇一個蓬勃嘅公民社區嘅生態咧，呢一種嘅直接代議制民主可能就唔會出現。咁所以我覺得呢一個嘅生態係相輔相成。咁所以當時候我提出嘅一個三步曲，即係叫做自救、自立同自強。咁我相信而家呢個階段咧已經進入一個自強嘅部分、self-empowerment嘅部分，就係、我哋見到開始陸續有唔少嘅海外嘅港人去參與當地嘅政治啦。例如喺今年5月份嘅地方選舉，已經有至少2名嘅 BNO Visa 嘅人士係成功選上成為咗當地議會嘅議員啦。咁所以呢一方面，我哋會再進一步，我哋去做好多 empowerment 嘅工作，去讓民眾有翻一個投票權。呢個咁嘅權利咧，我覺得係需要。而呢個權利咧，我唔覺得係需要讓北京呢一啲所謂政權去允許，而係人民自己賦予俾自己嘅一個基本嘅概念。 咁所以你話未來會點做咧？究竟個會址即係譬如議會會唔會最後係實體化，然後喺倫敦或者任何一個城市？我覺得都有可能嘅。不過循序漸進啦。咁我哋而家呢個 moment 能夠行到呢一步，咁你繼續推進，咁睇下未來係咪有呢個機會。咁我覺得只要理念上相同，值得支持，咁我哋無論點都會繼續去嘗試同推進。
How concerned are you that there might be reluctance from people within the UK government to support the Hong Kong Parliament and political sensitivities over upsetting China? And what would you say to anyone within government who might have those sorts of reservations?
I would answer first and then leave it to you because you're more better positioned to answer. Yeah, thanks for the question. I do believe that the UK government generally be more conservative even than the US government. So I don't really expect that at this very initial stage that the UK government endorse at any level. Okay, but the thing is, the whole concept is for the people's self-reliance. We need not to be recognised by a foreign government at this moment because that's we know when the UK government said we support Hong Kongers for a decent rights of democracy, and that is a democratic system. They should be regarded as default. They should support any kind of this initiative. So I believe that is about the task of ourselves. When we set up the Hong Kong Parliament, and that is genuinely, gradually, we have much more mandates of the people and make the Parliament more decent. And as you can see, the members of the Parliament will be more professional. And that's more high quality political debates that have held. And along with this political developments, or even maybe potentially in the future, there's some potential conflicts between China or autocracy and liberal democracy. And I think that's the skill UK governments or many other governments in liberal democracy camps will have a choice whether they should recognise Hong Kong Parliament. And I believe that they will also be in pressure as well. If you genuinely think you support Hong Kong's call for democracy, why not this time? This totally democratic elected body will not be recognised even now. So I would say that one of the very, very good things for Hong Kong Parliament is that we make the activists being elected as a member will be at more equal footing when they talk with others MP or politicians in the UK, because they are also with the people's mandate, and many of those also being a responsible and decent voters in the UK. So I believe that is also giving a very positive signal to those people if they want to engage within the Hong Kong Parliament. It could be a stepping stone for those people to get support from parts of the key voters and get into the UK politics as well. And within this parliament, you can say, I cannot rule out the possibility. Some of the members, they could be also the politicians in the certain country. And then they could, with this kind of mandate, to exert a very diversified influence and even power of the Hong Kong Parliament. And that would be a very new pathway we would try for this exiles community for democracy movement. And that's the serve that we should try.
UK is a signatory to the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And of course, the rights including association, meaning what we're doing right now is to be represented. What we're doing is totally in conformity with the declaration. But on the other hand, of course, there's interest involved, national interest. And I've done some rough calculation, which very few people talked about. How much money the British trading company have made in the last 30 years since China opened up. These trading companies, as the name is trading. These trading companies have the exclusive distribution rights for Hong Kong. They made a lot of money. Since China opened up, some 30 or 40 years ago, they've been importing most of their stuff through Hong Kong. Foreign-made stuff, European goods, for instance, luxury goods, cigarettes, alcohol, perfume, fashion, a lot of luxury goods. So the British trading company make huge amount of money, not in billions. Could be total, could be as much as trillion in that kind of scale. The Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, all the Chinese, mainland Chinese, including from the Qing dynasty, the Emperor Dowager, they all trust Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. So most of the people who have foreign currency would put their money with, I'm talking about China, put their money, deposit their money with Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. This amount is huge. Again, I would use the word trillion, right? Use the figure trillion. So I can understand that their interests have to be protected because part of a lot of shareholders are still from UK, all these British trading companies. A lot of money comes back to this country, repatriate to back to UK. We understand that. So that's the practical side. That's why they are not so drastic. We have not seen any sanction by the British government, UK government against the Hong Kong government officials who are really breaking all the human rights, doing ridiculous things. They were actually Chinese policemen dressed in Hong Kong police uniform and really, I would say, murdering many Hong Kong young people. So, but anyway, going back to that, they don't have, with Hong Kong Parliament, they don't have the right to vote. The UK government don't have the right to vote. We will be organized with or without their blessing. That is the reality. They may not. So far, even like the Hong Kong Watch, I mean, you know that organization. They've done really good work for Hong Kong. ENO, Visa, Canadian, the Shrimpy, and then even European, they've done a lot of work for them. But their position, they're not ready to support us. Because the UK policy, government policy, is not ready yet. I mean, mainly, I believe, was because of this huge interest with the trading company and the banks in Hong Kong. Which is also understandable, right? I mean, we have to live on money, not just on ideology. So this is the reality. But as far as we're concerned, we have to do it ASAP. Because otherwise, as time goes by, the memory of Hong Kong starts getting faded. This is really the best time. We should have done it maybe a year earlier, even better. But you have to strike when it's hot. And we are going to go ahead and do it with or without US, or without UK or US government sanction. And US is quite supportive because the US economy is so much bigger than their US interest in Hong Kong. Quite a bit of interest. I mean, all the investment bankers based in Hong Kong, US investment bankers, also make huge amount of money in the past. Now not so much because they were in the capital market. The US really was running the entire global capital market, made huge amount of money when China started doing IPO and merger acquisition or really borrowing money. It's huge business, but the overall US economy is so much bigger, so they would take national interest more important than these company interests, Wall Street interests. So that's the way. So the US is a little bit more supportive, but doesn't mean 100%. All right. So I would, in terms of quantification, I would say UK people are very supportive, UK people, but the government, I would say about 30%, and the US government about maybe 50%. That's the way I would estimate. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. Me for RFA.
頭先都想再問翻啦，其實係上個星期咧，你嘅兩位子女同埋你新抱咧都被香港嘅保安處去到協助調查啦。咁其實有冇一個心理準備，就係以後可能會影響到你同屋企人嘅嗰個交往，甚至乎譬如你嘅新抱同埋你嘅仔可能以後冇機會再見咁樣。
They detained my kids. I replied in English. They detained my kids my eldest daughter, my eldest son, and his wife for maybe 5 to 8 hours for questioning. There's nothing they need to. I mean, I speak everything on my YouTube. There's nothing they don't know. So they try to scare me into going further with the Hong Kong Parliament election activity. And 3 years ago, since I left Hong Kong, I made up my mind that we need to do something for Hong Kong freedom. So, and the Hong Kong freedom is a much more serious matter than my personal wealth, or my personal freedom, or my family freedom, or my family safety. So I would say the future of Hong Kong is a much bigger issue than my personal or family type of. I know I'm risking, but normally, they have to pay a price. I mean, you see many countries went independent and paid that price, and it's a price we have to pay. We should not be overprotective of our family. They are grown up, they should know how to protect themselves and protect their own family. So it doesn't really, I'm not very concerned at all. Thank you.
Perhaps I echo a bit. If you go to a lot of war military, I always see a plaque saying freedom is not free. I think that can capture everything. Something worth fighting for, but we have to pay the price. But hopefully, the Hong Kong Parliament will require the least sacrifice or price to pay to achieve what we want to achieve.
中文問就係話嗰個關於政體上面，其實有可能會太早嘅，但係唔知大家有冇諗過，就係而家講緊嘅代議政制嘅方式。咁頭先講到咗，可能喺倫敦，咁可能嗰個體制可能去到一個叫做即係英國式嘅議會制度。咁我哋見到就係 regulation， 即係講緊嗰個諮詢文件入邊有，即係要選出35席嘅。咁究竟35人裏邊會唔會出現到英國裏邊嘅一個叫 shadow government 啦？另外就係究竟而家香港議會就算順利選出嚟之後，究竟個議會係咪一個政府咧？另外就想問三文特嘅一個問題就係、你覺得而家喺英國嘅香港人其實嗰個即係參與政治上面嗰個熱衷程度夠唔夠咧？
我記唔到咁多咪得嘅。
Okay. Yeah, 三年呢個你記住好啲。
咁會唔會產生？即係我諗而家目前嚟講咧，嗰個制憲嘅工作咧係由新任民選議員去處理啦。咁因為只有新任民選議員有足夠嘅民意基礎去做呢樣嘢，咁所以而家嘅一個籌委會嘅工作主要就係去建立一個最基本嘅投票制度。咁讓個投票制度係符合公正，盡可能係符合公正就可以啦。咁所以究竟會係以乜嘢政體嘅形式？會否係好似以西敏寺嘅即係西敏嘅模式去處理呢個問題，然後喺個議會入邊誕生一個政府嘅框架咧？呢個係未知數，因為第一批嘅議員仲未誕生啦。咁以我個人嘅角度嚟講咧，可能我唔係好執着於具體政體嘅問題，咁我會諗嘅係我點樣由一個相對又比較民主包容嘅方式，但係同時之間咧又可以符合到有效率嘅方式去做到一啲嘅決議。所以如果我可能喺未來入到議會嘅話，我自己個人嘅睇法咧就會係去諗，去點樣讓個議事嘅規則簡單啲，用乜嘢嘅所謂政體去讓到一啲可能聲明啊、announcement 啊，或者一啲 report send 俾聯合國嘅，咁會容易啲可以凝聚到共識咧。咁譬如你單從一個選舉制度其實都可以好大影響嘅，即係究竟你會偏向形成兩黨制或者多黨制，你單一個選舉嘅形式已經會有影響嘅。咁所以我諗喺呢一個制憲嘅工作嘅過程當中咧，係會好大量去涉及到呢一個問題。咁所以我覺得而家好難講，因為我可能唔係唯一嘅聲音。咁另外就係究竟即係佢會唔會係一個政府嘅形態咧？ 如果從一個法律上嘅觀點去睇咧，其實目前嚟講，佢哋喺加拿大註冊嘅一個籌委會咧，都係一個 NGO 嚟嘅。咁所以我相信你去運作一個團體，你最終都係要去註冊嘅。咁如果從法律維加去睇咧，佢就唔係一個喺法律上就唔係一個政權組織啊。咁但係你自己嘅宣誓又另一回事啊，即係政治嘅宣誓或者政治嘅 aspiration 係另一回事。咁但係法律維加上嚟講，佢應當係一個非政府組織。咁未來會唔會得到政府嘅認可，然後升格或者做一啲改變就唔知，因為假設如果佢喺英國註冊，咁英國嘅法律維加就係冇呢樣嘢嘅啊。咁英國如果你話我另外去肯定佢一個政權地位，即係呢個都可能發生過嘅。喺前幾年當 Donald Trump 係美國總統嘅時候，佢對於耶路撒冷嘅地位，咁佢自己係升格咗。咁所以呢個係一個政治決定。咁目前嚟講，我哋未知。咁而呢樣嘢，你話以 NGO 作為法律維加係有啲咩好處咧？我個人即係包括我參加佢哋嘅聽證會嘅時候、公聽會嘅時候，我作為一個普通一般嘅民眾俾意見。咁我都係建議呢一個議會嘅性質係以非政府嘅法律形式存在。個其中一個主要原因咧，係因為我想留一個空間係俾未來嘅呢一批議員係可以有一個法律基礎參與當地嘅政治。因為你話地方議員就可能會一個所謂 loyalty 嘅 concern， 但係如果你去到國會議員咧，可能佢要求你係一個單一國籍，或者係你唔可以參與任何其他嘅政府機構。甚至你話英國首相咁，佢都會要求你唔係美國籍嘅啊，因為而家佢啲孫係攞美國綠卡啫。咁所以我諗我哋都要諗下話點樣符合呢啲法規嘅要求，但係同樣係令到香港議會係一個更大嘅可塑性同發展空間，同埋佢有佢嘅影響力。咁所以呢個係我個人少少嘅意見，但係具體會係點咧？我哋要等到第一屆選舉出嚟嘅民主議員去做制憲工作嘅時候先會知道。咁最終你話香港人喺英國 ready 唔 ready， 或者佢哋個參選嘅熱情係點樣，或者參選嘅熱情係點咧？我覺得首先比較喺英國嘅民意嚟講咧，已經整體我哋香港人嘅族群係比起英國本地人係更加熱衷於政治㗎啦。咁如果你睇翻頭先講喺地方選舉，可能得個4成，4成嘅投票率，咁年青人嘅投票率更加低。咁如果你話去到國會選舉，可能大少少咯，去到6成啦。咁以一般嘅民主國家嚟講，可能都比較高㗎啦。但係以香港嘅語境嚟講係好低嘅。咁所以我諗呢一件事嚟講，我哋係點樣運用香港人喺呢度嘅優勢，就係比一般人更加熱衷於政治嘅時候，其實我哋就更有條件咧，係去鼓勵多啲人去參政，無論係英國當地嘅政治，定係香港議會呢一套嘅新嘅平台。咁我覺得亦都帶起一個風潮喺未來一個可能嘅建議啦，就係英國咧。佢本身一啲嘅選舉制度咧，佢對於每個候選人嘅分野唔係好清楚嘅，即係你如果走入去投票，第一啦，佢又唔真係 check 你身份證嘅，其實好寬鬆。所以如果大家用一個好嚴格嘅標準喺香港議會，但係你如果反觀翻英國咧，其實咧英國咧有好多選舉制度上嚟講有好寬鬆嘅地方，你行入去攞住封信就可以投票，佢都唔 check 你係咪真係嗰個人嚟嘅嚇。咁我諗喺呢一方面嘅時候，我哋可以做一啲所謂選舉監察嘅民間組織啦，去讓你所居住嘅嗰個選區嘅候選人，佢有唔同嘅政綱，佢有唔同嘅理念，咁讓啲人有個更加清楚嘅選擇。否則咧喺英國而家嘅選舉文化咧，好多人咧就係好相對嚟講就係睇佢嘅政黨，我支持工黨，我支持保守黨，我支持市民黨，我就投嗰個黨咯。其實佢連嗰個議員個候選人咩名，其實佢未必知嘅。咁所以我諗，如果香港人有呢一個咁嘅熱衷程度，如果我哋真係建立咗啲民間組織，起咗一個示範俾英國政府去考慮，咁英國政府可能都會考慮，不如我哋成立一個 statutory organisation， 即係公營機構係獨立於政府嘅，去更加明確地令到大家見到唔同嘅候選人佢哋嘅分野喺邊度嘅時候，係可以深化到民主咯。否則嘅話，可能呢一種咧代議民主政治喺英國嚟講都相對可能都係比較淺層嘅概念。咁我諗呢一個係我哋香港人係可以 contribute 嘅地方。
我想聽下一點咧，頭先你講話，即係如果我當選咗做香港議員，香港議會嘅議員，咁先算啦。係咪都依然係可以即係繼續參與一啲，即係譬如話喺英國或者係美國、加拿大嘅政治，喺嗰度做議員或者係 MP 咁先算？
嗱，我覺得第一佢係有助到你喺當地，譬如 for example 喺英國去從事香港倡議工作啊，因為你唔再係一個個人身份，你係有咗一個民主正當性啊。當然呢個 mandate 係有時效性㗎啦，即係我哋講緊啦，咁都有前議員可以繼續做啊，點解唔得咧？咁我哋講嘅係一個民主認受性嘅時效性問題啊，你唔可能過10年、20年都繼續 claim 你係 relevant to people 啊，你需要民意檢驗嘅，咁呢一個好正當嘅理由去做。所以如果單純從英國本地去做香港倡議工作咧，係有幫助嘅。咁另一樣嘢頭先講到啦，即係可能要符合翻當地嘅一啲嘅法規。咁呢啲嘅法規咧喺英國咧個解釋係好寬鬆嘅。我舉個例子啦，喺 BNO Visa Holder、BNO 嘅人士能唔能夠喺呢度參政咧？如果你睇翻個選舉法例咧，佢就話你係需要英國籍，但係你唔需要 leave to remain 留喺度，咁即係話係英國公民先可以參選啊。咁 BNO Visa 咧，其實當時候嘅內政部嘅解釋咧就話佢係一個 leave to remain 嚟嘅，啊，即係一個點解咧？佢就要 justify 我冇違反到中英聯合聲明啊，我冇更改到 BNO 嘅本質啊，咁佢係話俾北京知嘅。咁但係最終你見到點解會有部分嘅選區真係成功地誕生咗議員咧？佢又唔係英國公民，然後佢嚟咗呢度住咗年幾啫嘛。咁我哋又問翻當地 council 嘅一啲 returning officer 佢哋嘅解釋。咁佢話佢哋嘅解讀咧就係 BNO Visa 咧，佢唔係一個傳統意義嘅 leave to remain， 因為佢係 aim for 永久嘅 resettlement。咁所以咧佢就作出咗一個豁免。咁所以呢件事咧，我哋就反映出喺英國嘅一種普通法，一個冇成文憲法嘅國家咧。佢係一個好大嘅遊走空間，所以如果英國政府佢本身去睇香港議會支持民主嘅，咁同我哋國家嘅理念差唔多喎，咁可能佢亦都會相對寬鬆地去解釋香港人，你就算係香港議會嘅議員，未來參與英國國家政治嘅參選資格，咁呢樣嘢咧，可能你話真係要好認真去比拼嘅時候咧，就要去 appeal， 然後去到 final call， 然後去到 judiciary 嗰種司法嘅解釋先可以解決到呢個問題。咁但係我相信喺政治氛圍底下咧，英國政府會從輕去解釋相關嘅法例，讓未來嘅香港議會嘅議員咧係可以參與到國家嘅政治。
我呢度咧就可能引發咗第二個問題，就係咧，因為咧一般嘅國家你如果做得議員嘅話，你要swear 要發誓㗎嘛，係咪要宣誓？話你嗰個對個 allegiance， 即係話你個效忠於你個國家係嘛？呢個咁變咗咧，將來咧，譬如阿 Simon 咁講，咁佢又係佢如果香港議員一樣啫，佢一樣要求你宣誓多數一定要差唔多，所有全世界嘅界都係咁嘅，俾你做得議員，你梗係要宣誓效忠㗎啦。咁公民都係啦，美國唔可能淨係攞張護照嗰啲啫，咁變咗可能會有啲某方面會有個國家同國家之間嘅矛盾，可能係政治矛盾，可能係利益矛盾。咁嗰個問題點樣樣咧？咁我頭先都諗，我都一直都有諗嘅呢個問題。即係阿 Simon 就話佢兩個，佢覺得兩邊都應該去選，我唔反對，絕反對。但係真係呢個矛盾係有可能會發生嘅喎，係嘛？你冇話香港將來同英國冇矛盾㗎嘛？就算唔係就唔打仗，可能都有利益矛盾。利益衝突，咁喺嗰個情況之下咧，就要大家要睇翻 constitution。你個 constitution 裏邊點寫？因為 constitution 唔係我做㗎，我都未做，未發生㗎呢件嘢。將來嘅 constitution 點樣寫，就係要按照 constitution 嚟做。呢個就係即係呢啲係遊戲規則嚟嘅。應該咁睇睇當嗰30幾個議員選出嚟，佢哋點樣起草，然後最後點樣公投。人民公投、全體公投通過呢個過程嚟嘅，所以好多嘢你問嘅嘢咧，係我哋只可以話俾你聽。佢如果係佢佔大多數嘅喺議會裏邊，佢有好多議員嘅，佢哋可能會傾向佢哋嗰邊。咁 Tony 同阿 Simon 朋友話朋友，但係佢嘅理念跟佢嗰班人又可能唔同。所以我代佢哋講，我未問過佢哋。譬如佢哋組織咩政黨，咁佢哋有佢哋嘅爭取票係嘛？將來喺嗰個議會裏邊嗰種咁嘅討論投票辯論喺嗰度發生嘅。所以如果即係而家長遠啲打算咧，如果你對香港 有參與嘅問題，呢個長遠嘅打算。你唔好淨係諗住自己喎，要諗住你如果真係要香港接受你嘅理念，我唔理邊個理念啊，你一定有自己有夠票、夠人、夠代表，呢、個就係好標準嘅，全世界都係咁樣嘅。民主嘅就係民主嘅基礎嚟嘅，民主嘅1、2、3嚟嘅。所以而家咧，我哋唔好成日掛住淨係呢個問題，而家開始要組織將來啊！如果你真係要參與嘅話，而家個問題呢件嘢要發生嘅，就算我搞唔掂，遲早都要發生嘅，冇可能香港係會冇民主嘅。而家全世界冇乜好少地方冇民主嘅，就係共產黨喺度搞3搞4嘅啫。所以我覺得咧但係應該如果真係年輕人啦，我咁老啦，而且會唔會走？年輕人應該考慮到嗰個政黨嘅問題。呢個要諗嘅，唔可以唔諗嘅。
In fact, I just want to chip in a little bit. Before we left before UK left European the EU, we used to see people carrying MEP and MP titles together. So obviously, I hope one day I will see Simon carrying MP, the title of MP and MHKP. Obviously, that will be probably Hong Kong. If everybody go through a referendum, let's say they want to come to join the United Kingdom, then there's no problem of dual allegiance issues. Anyway, but these are progressive, so we don't have an answer yet. But some of the questions are really, really good. I think we, of course, we'll start the time. Any more questions for Simon and okay, yeah, one more.
I just want to ask you sort of about something you said earlier, Elvis. You said that you thought the CCP regime might collapse within the next 3 years. What makes you think that?
Of course, future of Hong Kong, we want to go home like everybody else. So we will be very, very much focused on the situation in China and also in Hong Kong. We spend almost, let's say, 18 hours a day looking at China, care less about the rest of the world. So let me just simply put it, the debt, there are several figures which you may not get it from normal reporters. There are a lot of hidden debt. I would say the total debt, including personal debt, company debt, local government debt, China's central government debt, and then public company debt, so on and so forth. China was built on debt because when China opened up in the 70s, it's not a capitalistic country. Companies have no capital, right? So how do they invest? It's based on borrowing. I don't blame them, They have to borrow because all the money goes to the central government. They control. It's a planning economy, meaning you have no capital. Each company and each individual have no capital. It's an anti-capitalistic system. So then they become part of the world. They join the world. You need to have capital to do things. So then you start a lot of companies and so on and so forth. The government borrowed very, very heavily. Yesterday, Tony and I did a program on the high-speed railway in China. The ticket revenue cannot even cover the interest rate. Cannot cover the interest. Yeah. Every day, 400 million RMB. Just the interest they have to pay for the bullet train. We call them Gaotie, meaning high-speed railway. All the tickets together, not enough to pay for the interest. And never mind the electricity. Their electricity cost is so much higher than Japan. Japan is very famous for bullet train since the 60s. Japan, 1 kilometer, the electricity cost. Yeah. Never mind money. The 43 kilowatt per kilometer electricity usage, and China 10,000. China is 10,000 kilowatt to run for 1 kilometer. They are bankrupting. The whole country is bankrupting because when the communists decide to do something, it's all politics. Has nothing to do with the profitability, etc. We inherited 3 projects in Hong Kong from the communists. One is the high-speed train. There was a section into Hong Kong. It's so ridiculously expensive, but they did it for political reasons, just to please Beijing. That's one. Another one, we have the longest bridge in the world, connecting Hong Kong, Macau, and Zhuhai, China. Again, these are white elephants. But not only that, can't even pay for the maintenance costs. So this is how China was built. How could they suddenly rise up, and then the world was very impressed with the rise of China? Borrowing. Don't forget borrowing. They always have, especially from US, not much from UK. US have been providing them with so much money, not only borrowing, but also US imported a lot of their goods and then gave them hard currencies, IPOs, loans, and so on, lots of loans. So in China, their real loan may be double of what they announced. Total, I'm talking about total. And the Chinese population, we believe, is less than 1 billion. It's not as many as they say. They're 1.4 billion. It's not big. And another figure is their GDP. Their GDP is 1/3 of what they announced. Now, in order to service the loan, the so-called the loan, even without doubling it, let's say what they announced, you need enough GDP business activities to service the loan. And you need enough population to generate the wealth to service the loan. Unfortunately, most Western economists are so lazy, they don't do their own research. They take the Chinese numbers in face value, and they keep on lending money. Now, of course, basically stopped. But if they really do enough homework, they should realize it's already bankrupted. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme. And they always need fresh new money to cover and keep on telling people they have the biggest market in the world. While in fact, India bypassed them a long time ago. So basically, they don't even have money to pay for interest, never mind the principal. And interest rate have gone up drastically in the last 1 year. So I believe they're going to bankrupt. As simple as that, in Western terms. But not only financially bankrupt, but also politically bankrupt. Since this COVID lockdown, I'm from Shanghai, a lot of relatives in Shanghai. And Shanghai is the center, financial center of China, not Hong Kong or Shenzhen. Shanghai is really the most important country. Shanghai people have lost their confidence in the communist government. That is very serious. Losing confidence means they don't want to spend money, they don't want to invest money. And this activity, this economic cycle basically stopped. And they have problem restarting the cycle. It's just economic cycle is very important. The minute it's not running, the one collapse, it's very hard to get it restarted. And because of their policy, the communists have a policy of they don't have this unemployment benefit, no such thing. Here, during the COVID, government actually give you cash. No such thing in China. So basically, people were tapped out. No more. They spent all their money paying mortgage, paying their living, and so on. People were tapped out. So when they reopened end of last year, there is no money to start the world turning again. While here, people still they receive money, they can go out and spend their money. So the economy is still turning. But in China, that whole cycle is stopped. There is a very interesting observation. The US have satellites, right? So they're counting the number of people on the road. Could be in a car or could be on pedestrian. They have dropped 70%. The pedestrian, people on the street, they have a good side, pretty normal, 90% of the cargo being shipped back and forth. But in terms of people on the street, dropped by 70%. Now, how do the shops survive? It's a very, very serious issue. People don't understand. We are very familiar. Because we have to talk about everything, we have to report to our audience. It's very, very serious. And it concerns Hong Kong. And first, when they run out of money, first place to grab money is from Hong Kong. Hong Kong still have government reserve, companies still have money, people still have money, even though lots of them have left, but still a lot of wealth in Hong Kong. So that's what they are grabbing Hong Kong's money.
Okay. I'm cautious about the time. Alma, you are pretty much wanted by Matthew. He's waiting to interview you for, he's been sitting there. So maybe I encourage you to have your interview in a small group. The rest of us, we can still chat, discuss whatever. I like you to enjoy the dessert. We also reserve as well. I think we overrun quite a bit, but I think I like to say it's a very good atmosphere. We all engaging, a very fruitful discussion. So we're still staying behind to finish your meal, and I think move around as well to get to know each other. Because I like it to be everyone can public meetings in another location as well. So yeah. I think all yours now. So after Matthew.